welcome back. This is the one and only Eyes-Dysell Swans. Yes, I'm back. Part two of birth. Yes. Last week I talked to y'all about life. It's lifing right now. Life is lifing. I had to get me some some cards. I can talk off the top of my head, but I wanted to go back in and talk about some stuff, and we don't have a long time today. I wanted to clear up some things that I did say last week on my first podcast that, so for one, I now remember my father's name, which I just found out he was my father during COVID. Remember I told you I had found out I had a new father? Well, his name is Arthur Lee Goodwin. He's a Goodwin. So maybe my name would have been Goodwin instead of Swans. But maybe. Anyway, his name is Arthur Lee Goodwin. His mom, my grandmother, who is 94 years old. Let's give him a clap for that. Yes, we're on my paternal side now, which is the father's side. And her name is Eula Bishop. Her last name is Bishop because she remarried. So that's how she became a bishop. But her first husband name was C.J. Goodwin. And that is my father's name. And wait. Yeah, I think that's what she told me. She said his name was CJ, but then she also named one of her sons CJ. So my grandmother, like I said, she's 94, very sharp. I was so happy being that I didn't get to meet my dad in this lifetime. She was there. She's, I met her and I was off to the races when I met her, off to the races of meeting her. So I wanted to tell y'all that. I'm going to get more into Eula. I just seen her about, when was that? Right after Mother's Day or right before Mother's Day? I think I seen her right before Mother's Day, that weekend before Mother's Day, because I was in North Carolina and I drove through to South Carolina to go visit her before I came back home. So yeah, shout out to Eula. I love her. Yeah, anytime I go to her house, I'll be working on her house. I don't have a lot and she don't have a lot, but I'll be making sure that she's straight, and that's the love that I have for her. Let me just go back a little bit. The love that I have for Eula is the love that I wanted to have for Jonetta when I met her. Ain't that something? It's like I love Eula like we knew each other all my life, but that's not the case. But I didn't have that. The energy that I have with Eula is definitely the energy I wanted when I met J.A., which that was a nickname that I gave her as well. J.A., she went to the grave with that name. But anyway, on to the next, because we don't have a lot of time today, and I'm going to keep saying that because I want to make sure I get to the topic. Another topic I wanted to go back over when I was talking about birth, when I said Reynard, my father, I thought was my father, stole my brother Brian's bike. He did, but he didn't steal a bike until we was moving from 163rd when we were homeless, because we got kicked out and we was staying in the basement with rats, roaches, all of that. So yeah, it was bad. Anyway, that's when he came out of jail and he helped us. He assisted Marion with moving, and when he got to the Bronx, he stole Brian's bike. I wanted to clear that up. So it wasn't from 164th Street to 163rd. It was from 163rd, so when we moved to the Bronx. So I cleared that up. And I didn't even say hello, family, friends, foes, family, and friends. I would like to say that now. Get it on the record. I went over Eula and Arthur. So I wanted to talk about Marion. Some things about Marion. Marion had just one characteristic that I liked. She was clean. She didn't play filth. She didn't play dirt. She didn't like none of that. Again, she was abusive, and that's something that it wasn't a good characteristic for her. That was that slave mentality, like I said before. And I wanted to go back over. She used to put soap in my mouth. Do y'all know that? Have your parents ever put soap in your mouth when you was a kid? And it ain't it's not like Ivory soap or Dove soap. She put the worst kind of soap in my mouth. Octagon soap. Like, she used to say, I don't know, she was touched. She needed help. She really needed help. What person in their mind would just put soap in somebody's mouth, rub it all up and down my teeth too? Oh, just because we were the black sheep of the family. Me and my brother Ronnie were the black sheep of the family. It showed. Even when I told you we went down to Philly, Coatesville for summers, and they would beat us. They would take the twigs, the twitches off the tree, braid them up, and beat us. They did not like us. We was the black sheep of the family. Only people that got beat on those summer vacations was me and Ronnie, for sure. We was the only two that got beatings. My cousins that's related to Marion, that was her family, you know, as I know now, right? But we still say we cousins. They love me. They genuinely love me. I genuinely love them. You know, we didn't stay in contact. Once I found out they wasn't really, you know, my family, for some reason I backed off because I wanted to be a part of my family, whoever my blood family was. And that's just, you know, I'm going to go into that later at another time. But again, like my cousins, all of them, they never got beatings. Never. Their parents treated them with dignity and respect. Me and Ronnie was the only two that didn't get treated with dignity and respect. I tell you, she tried to break us. Again, she tried to break me, but that never happened. It would never happen. I was too strong for that, you know? So after meeting Johnetta, to go back, I went back to the neighborhood and told all my friends, like, hey, I met my mother. I got a mother. Like, I really was happy I had a mother. But it was just the happiness just to tell people that I had a mother. It wasn't the happiness that I felt because it wasn't a loving, embraceful situation. Like, it wasn't like, oh, my daughter, I love you. I miss you. Where you been? I didn't get that. So off the back, I was kind of standoffish, like, you know. And that being said, that's how, when she met my daughter, it was more so like the more connection of the love and the embracing, and I got my grandbaby type thing. I got you on that note, but I didn't get that. Even though I think she felt like she already failed us, you know, once we was able to sit and tell her the story without marrying around, when we got back over there, because I went back over there with my friends, and we told her the story, because we couldn't tell her when Marion was there, because Marion had to, you know, big herself up, her big head up. But once we told her, she was like, like, y'all don't have to go back, like, you know. And I didn't know nothing about the system as I know about the system now as an adult. I didn't know about the system then. And it's crazy. So anyway, make a long story short about that, we went back over there. I told you I was gunning to get back over there. Me, Ronnie, we would go back over there. Ronnie started transitioning in the street. I started transitioning in the street. By 13, it was over for Marion. 1405 College Avenue, it was over. It was over. I was moving on. Like, I knew from that point on, I'm either gonna have to, it was gonna make me or break me. But then what kept me around was I started getting money. I saw my first $1,000 as a teenager at 13 years old. Never seen that much money in my, and it's, to a 13-year-old, remember, that's a lot of money. The 13-year-old now is not a lot of money. The 13-year-old back then was a lot of money. So imagine you getting, I'm hustling. I'm trying to get things for myself, things that I couldn't get from my grandmother, you know? So now I'm hustling hard to make ends meet so I can have money in my pocket. I can have fun, the life that I really want, you know? And 13 came, and it was on and popping from 13. My life really started at 13. I was a young hustler. 13 to 18, it was a life to me until I had my daughter. I had my daughter when I was 19, so it was like around 19-ish. I really slowed down on the street part of it, putting my life on jeopardy. Like I wasn't out there in the street, but I was behind the doors, behind the house, in the room, and that type. So that, when I say I slowed down a little bit on that, I slowed down on a little bit of that, but I was still hustling. I was in the street. I was hustling. I was doing all types of things to make money. And honestly, I didn't have to sell my pussy, which I knock on wood to this day. What? My cards fell. But anyway, I'm gonna get those. Anyway, so I didn't have to sell my body, which was a good thing. And that being said, if you don't have to sell your body, in the end, I could have had to go down that route, but I didn't. So, but I had a strong head. I was headstrong, like off the rip. I was just headstrong, for real. And that being said, money was more important than anything. It was up from there. I could buy my own sneakers. I was fresh to death. I got pictures. All the sneakers and stuff that people are buying now, I had those back in the days. There wasn't as much money. There wasn't a line you had to stand on to get them. You just go in the store and purchase them. Canal jeans. I had people with connects. I had almost every sneaker there was. Reeboks, Sauconys, Lottos. Those were the joints I grew up on. Asics, Nike, Dunks. Those things, I had those. And that was because of street money. But in the midst of that, I was doing street stuff. I also, I'll get into that in another podcast. I would go in them stores, Bloomingdale's. I was a thief. And I picked that habit up from Raynard. They say you follow in your family's footsteps. I followed in his footsteps, and I was a thief. I sure was. You couldn't get me to steal, not now. But I didn't steal bullshit. I stole stuff that was worth money. I was gonna get bread. Jerseys that people wear now that are $400, $500, $600. I was getting those back in the days, reselling them on the street and getting paper for it, like money. The Dominicans uptown. So from 13 on, it was a life, like, it was amazing. My life was amazing. Even though I was doing all the dumb shit and all the stupid shit I wasn't supposed to be doing, it was just amazing. It was like, I wanted more. The adrenaline of it all, I wanted more. So whatever I had, I was doing credit card fraud. Yes, your girl was out there. I did a lot of dumb shit that I regret. I was going in them stores using credit cards, coming out the stores with Lindsay Bass, got caught up, and I had a court case. I didn't go to jail. That was one of the things, but it was like an adrenaline. When you go in them stores taking things that you never had before, you want it. You want more and more of it. So it was like, that's what I was doing. I had my peoples that, it used to be me, and I was the driver. I would go in stores and all of that. Yeah, I was early on. I was doing a lot. But I would take a lot of my winnings and stuff and go over to Jonetta's, and we was already over there. Anyway, let me take that back. We was already over there. Whatever they wanted, coats, jackets, clothes. I was hooking my sisters and my brothers up like they had. It was whatever. Sky was the limit for them. You know what I'm saying? We all young, like, hey, what? You know what I'm saying? So I made sure that was my home at that point. So everybody was winning. I still had a job though. Would you believe it? All the dumb shit I did, I always kept a 9 to 5. Always kept a 9 to 5. It was something about I had to always have a job. Just what it was. I was fly, but I always had to have a job. Free stuff. But anyway, teenage life. I done passed that. I'll probably go back a little bit though. But from 13 on, it was like the world was mine. You couldn't tell me nothing. The money was coming in. Love was happening in the streets. I would smoke from time to time with my friends, but I wasn't a smoker. Like, you couldn't get me to smoke really. Like, I would smoke, but it was something about, I seen a lot of my friends, let me think about that. None of my immediate friends, they were actually, their parents was not even drug addicts. one of my friends' parents was. I think one or two. One or two of them were drug addicts, but it didn't stop them shaming their game. We had a good time growing up. We all made money, and actually, I'm still cool with a lot of people that I grew up with from that building. 1405 College Avenue. Stories. Look it up. Look it up. Yes. 1405. Then I started transitioning on out of town. Going out of town. Yes. On a Greyhound. I did a little bit of that. It was just because I was doing it by myself. And I did a lot of stuff by myself. When I used to be in apartments, capping up, them eighths and eighths and eighths and eighths of that coke, that raw coke, I was in the house by myself because I was trusted. And I was trusted to be in the house by myself because, listen, if somebody would have ran in that house, I wouldn't be here to be telling this story, for real, for real. It was millions of dollars in there, and I was the only one in that house at many times. It was just me. I was the only one with the key going in and out, the worker. People lived in those apartments, but they wasn't there. But I would be the only one. I was a trusted ally, and I didn't fuck that up. And to this day, I'm still a trusted ally with a lot of people. And that being said, so this is still in my 13, 14, my teen years, and out there on them streets, having fun. I want to go back a little bit. We talked about Marion and Johnetta. I wanted to say this about Johnetta and Brian, her firstborn. He never spoke to my mother up until the day my mother died. When my mother died is when he started speaking to her. Well, he didn't start the school. Let me take that back. He got involved. Like the whole time, he felt like she abandoned him. Some people, they get over it. Some people don't. And sometimes he regrets it. Just talking to him now, as you get older, you start to realize, like, a lot of the things that you were so serious about, it wasn't that serious. All it took was a communication, you know what I'm saying? A small conversation or something like that. And it's like, okay, you accept where you was wrong and you move on from there, whether you two speak again in life or you don't speak again. So when I called Brian and told him that Johnetta had passed, he was there. I said, listen, I'm upstate. She passed away. I need you to be there for them that's down there at that moment. I made it down there. He was a part of everything. He helped us. She didn't have no insurance policy. Her insurance policy had lapsed. And this is what I want to talk about real quick. And when her insurance policy lapsed, if anybody knows about insurance, they're gonna let you pay the back money only up to 3 months. After 3 months, they're not dealing with you. And her insurance policy had been lapsed. And my middle sister, she was the policy holder, and come to find out, my mom wasn't on her game anyway. She was lying. She was a liar. She was lying and said that she did have a policy. I would ask her from time to time when I knew she was sick. I would ask her, like, oh, you got a policy? We good? You good? That didn't happen that way. So guess who was the person that everybody went to? Yes, I'm considered the middle child because I got 2 older over me, and then it was 3 under me. So I'm like the middle child. Me and Tamiko, that's my sister. That's another story too. Love her but don't like her. To this day, I love her, and we working on trying to like each other and things like that. But I don't want to take that moment away. We'll talk about that later. Siblings and stuff like that. I'll go through each one of my siblings. I want to say this. So when she died, I had to figure it out. This is my first time burying somebody. I never had to bury nobody. Even when Marion died, that was on Brian, because Brian lived with her. He took care of her. He made sure she was the one that was good and all that in her ending part of her life. So when Johnetta died, it was like everybody looked to me like money, 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 because now I'm hustling, like I'm getting money. You know, I wasn't getting, well, I was getting money, but at this point, I was receiving money. It's just what it is. And I had to ask, you know, my guy at the time, hey, I need you to help me bury my mom. I had numerous friends in the street that gave me money, and they didn't turn a blind eye. They was like, I went to them like, listen, my mom died, boom, boom, boom. They was like, what you need? They gave it to me. No questions. Nobody said come back. Nobody said nothing. They gave it up, and I'm forever love those people. It's just what it is. So we came up with the money to bury my mother. My brother helped out too, so it was me, my brother, my sister, April, my baby sister, she helped out too, so it was just us three. The other three kids, whatever it might have been, they couldn't help. It's just what it was. But we all collectively, you know, I was the one that had to do the last walkthrough of her at the funeral home because nobody else could do it. So I was the one that had to go give the clothes and make sure the hair and all of that was done. But I want to stop for a minute and say this. They left me in charge of all this. My siblings will tell you, I want to have them on a podcast in the future. I would. They left me in charge of this. This was a tough task for me, but I didn't let nobody know this was a tough task for me. And it was times when I said to myself, because I'm going to break it down to y'all. I went kind of blind when my mom died. Like, clearly, like, I couldn't see for a minute. Like, it was like something that came over me for like 20, 30 minutes. I had to sit down. I couldn't see. I couldn't hear. Like, everything. And it was like my soul was taken from me. Like, I don't know. It was something. I to this day, I don't know how to explain it. What happened? Why I couldn't see, why I couldn't hear. It was like ringing in my ears, and just, I couldn't see. Like, maybe it was stress that stressed me out, where it took my ears and my hearing and my eyesight away. I don't know. But when it came back, it was clear to me that it was my job to do what I had to do. Whatever I felt in my heart about her and what she did to me, I had to put that to the side for my siblings, and that was more important than what I felt at the moment, because I struggled with that shit. I struggled with it. I said, I could take this money and put it in my pocket and put it in my bank account. I don't need to help her. These are the thoughts that was running in my head. Like, why should I help her? Fuck it, she left me, I should leave her in her death. She left me in my birth. Exactly. In my head, that's how I was thinking. I was thinking like that. It's just what it was. Like, fuck it. Who do I owe it to? I don't owe it to, I just owe it to my kids to make sure, you know, they good. I don't owe it to her. She ain't do nothing for me. She might have looked after my daughter, and that's because she felt bad of abandoning me. But then I thought about it. Daija, I would never have a relationship with Daija again. And you know, that's how I started feeling like, Daija was more tighter than me, and I'm her mom. That's my daughter. And I had to go through with it. So I really had to follow through with the follow through. And yeah, it was deep. It was real deep. Those thoughts, they kept coming back. I had an anxiety attack, like, and I had these things by myself. Like, I don't know. I felt like if I would have told somebody how I was feeling, they would have been like, oh, something's wrong with her. Like, I had to get myself together, because my mother's only sister, she tapped out. She comes to the funeral and bugs out off the rip. She just, boom. She never even came to the funeral. She was so high off of cocaine, she left, and she never came back. I didn't speak to her for almost 7 years after that. Almost 7 years, I promise you. I had to make things right. There you go, making things right with people. I always make things right. I was the go-to in this family. Everybody can tell you, I'm the house people came to stay at. I'm the house, I'm the person that people came to borrow money. I am the house. my temple, my body is the house. Trust me. And I made people comfortable at my house, but people didn't like my attitude. I was just, come on, think about it. You don't have no parents. Both of your parents is alive, but they're not alive. You don't know who they are, and you have to, in the belly of the beast in New York City, you raising yourself. I had to raise myself in the New York City. Nobody raised me. I was my own mentor. That's crazy, right? I had some smart friends. I had 2 smart friends growing up. I can honestly say that. Like, I had 2 smart, and to this day, they are my friends. We had some tough times, some trials and errors, but we came back around because if it's worth it, you're going to go back to them. And I did wrong. I did wrong. I had to make those wrongs right. And one of my friends, it's just that it's never going to happen again. And it's just what it is. It's petty, but some petty stuff you got to take to the grave with you and be like, you know what, let it be petty for whatever they think it is, and for whatever I think it is what it is. But moving forward, so Johnetta was buried, House of Prayer in the Bronx on Tremont Avenue. We was about to fight in there. Barbara, her sister-in-law's, my sisters and aunt on their father's side thought she was changing stuff around. It was bad. It was real bad. She comes there off of my dime and changes. And my sister Tamiko, I stopped speaking to her for many years. We just coming around the corner again. So they come and they change the funeral date from a 1-day service to a 2-day service on my money. Whoa, on my money, on my money. We went as a unit. Me, April, and Miko, we went to the funeral home, did all the arrangements. We collectively did that. Even though they didn't have a lot of money, we did it as a unit. And at the end of the day, Tamiko went behind my back, and changed the funeral from 1 day to 2 days on my money. Didn't like it. Anyway, the aunt thought, because that was her sister, and because, girl, we was fighting. We was thumping. Like, And to this day, we don't fuck with her. But I'm able to, I don't mess with them. Put it that way. I don't mess with them, really. And so Johnetta went in the grave. Forest Green in Jersey. She went in the grave, and life started lifing after that. For sure, everybody had to get back to their life, And my brother Ronnie, his fiance at the time, and the kids, they went back up to Buffalo. We went back to Albany, New York. All her kids were there, all 6 of her kids. It would have been surprising if another kid came out of the woodworks and like, yeah, that's my mother too. She gave me up. That was something I was looking forward to. Like, yeah, that would have been something else. Like, but that didn't happen. She only had 6, and 3 girls and 3 boys. The first 3 she gave away. The other 3 she kept, and she nurtured them through her drug addiction as well. She could have did the same thing to us. We could have had needles in her arm. I'm just joking. That's just a joke. That's a joke. But you would think that we would have grew up with problems. I think I do have some problems, but I don't know. After all of this, all abuse and everything, you would think I would have been in somebody's therapy. Never went to therapy. Never. And it wasn't that, I probably couldn't afford it, but we didn't know. I didn't know what therapy was back then, And that being said, I didn't have to go to therapy until 2020, during COVID. That's when I finally went to therapy, and that took because I was in a car accident. Had I not been in that car accident, I wouldn't know nothing about all my childhood traumas came out. That car accident, because I almost died. I had a Honda Accord. I just got it. It was spanking new. My son got it for me. Oh my God, it was nice. And I'm driving on the highway, going to work, and boom, Somebody hit me from the back. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Spin me around. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Car was like this. Mangled. I jumped out and was like, I'm alive. I kissed the ground, the dirty ground. I kissed the ground. And something in me, I kept saying, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. That's all I kept saying. And it was like, all I kept thinking about was meeting my mother. All these things, these thoughts and stuff started coming in my head about how I met my mother, how my mother died, how my mother did me, how I knew my father, like all these things. And it was like so much stuff in my head. And I didn't even care about how I was aching. My body was hurting. I had black and blue marks all over my body. My knee was hurting. My head was hurting. My shoulders was hurting. It felt like I wasn't alive. But all I kept feeling and seeing, like vision-wise, is my birth up until I met my mother, until she died. That's all I kept seeing. And I'm like, damn, did I hit my head hard enough that all I can remember is growing up, not having a mother? Like, am I going to be, it was trauma. I had to seek therapy. Sure did. And it wasn't for a long time because I was able to talk and tell my story, and she was amazed. She was like, wow, and she also told me, she was like, you should do a podcast. And here I am today on a podcast. Let me clap for that. Yes, a clap for me. A clap for me because I'm on a podcast. Marion didn't break me. Johnetta didn't break me. And Arthur Lee didn't meet me, so he wasn't able to break me. And I know Eula, my grandmother. I'm good. Life is lifing right now. And I just wanted to clear those things up. I also want to tell y'all where Reynard is at right now. Reynard is in a home. So let me go in here real quick. This is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna say. So how I found out Reynard wasn't my father. You ready? Let me give a clap for that. I found out Reynard was my father during COVID. The day Kobe Bryant died, he's a sports fanatic, a fan. Like, if he could be at any sports game, he would have been at all of them if he had money. But he was a broke man. He'd catch it online, on television. Kobe died. He loved Kobe. Kobe was like Kobe to him. Everybody loved Kobe. So Kobe died in a plane crash. My father, that I thought was my father, says, Gail, he calls me on the phone. He couldn't move. His body was he was stuck. He said, please call the ambulance. I'm having a heart attack. He had a heart attack in a room in my house, right here in Georgia. He was having a massive heart attack. I said, listen, if you make it out the hospital, I called the ambulance. They came. I said, if you make it out the hospital, because he didn't know who his family is all his life. I remember I told you that. He didn't know who his mom and pops was, his real family. I said, you make it out the hospital, I'm gonna do a DNA test. He made it out like 3 months later, on a cane and slow and all of that, trying to get himself back together. He spit in that tube. That tube said, you are not the father. But that came back months later, and when the thing came back, I'm on the phone with the lady like, hey, because by this time, Bryant, my cousin Tiana, KJ, my son, me, my niece Aliana, we all took DNA tests. So our joint connected, it connected like this. So when he took his, I was supposed to connect with him, and my brother Ronnie was supposed to connect with him. It didn't connect. Ronnie's connected, but I didn't connect. So I kept calling the lady, ladies kept saying, put me on hold. She was like, ma'am, I'm going to tell you this, he's not your father. And I knew it. Something about it was like, I know he wasn't my father, but I couldn't put a hand on it though. So found out he's not my father. Boom. So who is my father? So it was this lady DNA that was very high, like 59% high. So I contacted her and I'm like, okay. I inboxed her like, hey, it's saying that we're related on my paternal side. And she was like, yeah, more than likely we are related. And she was like, well, I'm going to put you through to, her name is Michelle Fuller. Love her. I'm going to tell you about her. Anyway, she was like, I'm gonna put you in contact with your cousin Darlene, who knows about ancestry, how to put the ancestry chart together and how the families go and all that. So I spoke to my cousin Darlene, and she was like, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. Pretty much in a nutshell. I told her like where I was from, where I hung out at, where my mom was from. Soon I told her where my mother was from, Boston Road, Franklin Avenue. She was like, wow. She said, your father is Arthur Lee. I'm like, but why Arthur Lee? She was like, Arthur Lee was the one that got high. He shot dope. He was a dope fiend too. And he hung in that area in the Bronx. Everybody else hung in Manhattan, Brooklyn. He was like the only one that hung in the Bronx. So, that being said, Eula, I did it. So we connected. I connected with Eula like that same day. Darlene talked to her, and you know what my grandmother said when she first got on the phone, Eula Bishop? She said, we looked for you. We knew your mother was pregnant. She disappeared. We didn't know where to find her at. Ain't that something? She disappeared. So that means they had sex somewhere, and they talked, you know, they was talking, and how I know that we all related is because guess what my sister name is that was born right before me? Her name is Darcella. And guess what my name is? Eyes-Dysell. How coincidence is that, right? I had another sister, Yolanda, God bless her soul, she's died. I've met her. I have another sister named Natalie who lives in Arizona. I met her. I went all the way out there. I was on the road during COVID. There was no cars on the road. I was the only one on the road. I was going up and down the road, me and all my family during COVID. On planes, trains, and automobiles, I was there. Yes, I was trying to meet my family. I went to go see my grandmother first. That weekend I knew I had a grandmother. She was still alive. I'm like, what? It was nothing else you could tell me. I was gone. I went to meet her. That's another story. You know, the family, the younger part of the family, they don't like me, but they were in my pockets. They was calling me all the time, asking me for money, for real. But it's okay though. You know, they thought I was coming for some money. No, I got my own money, boo. I didn't have to never do drugs. I didn't have to. Let me don't say that. I did some fun drugs. We had some fun times growing up. We did some laughing tabs. That was it. Some laughing tabs. But I wasn't a drug addict. Like, I had to get my fix of dope or crack. Nah, it wasn't what we did. But we did that like sporadically during fun times, me and my friends. We had a good time when we did it. You know, we was up for 24 hours and shit. Yeah. But it didn't make me a drug addict. It did. It was, first of all, drugs cost too much. I don't see how people, and then you gotta buy it all the time to get it fixed. No. And then you gotta go in areas where you can get arrested. I'm not trying to get arrested. Let me give a clap for that. No. Your girl is not trying to get arrested at all. So I just wanted to clear up that Eula, Arthur Lee's my father, Raynard. So Raynard is in a facility right now. He's dying. He has cancer, like stage 4 cancer, any day. I think he's still alive. Like, honestly speaking, I tried to get in contact with him, but, you know, that's my brother's father, and yeah. And at the end of the day, love is love. Peace. Family, friends, and foes. Foes, family, and friends. That's part 2. Deuces. Out of here.